YouTubers. I've been doing loads of tests with my new Kodak zi8, and what I decided I would do is, after watching the blue lines video that I did, I decided to recreate similar shots because it's overcast today, to compare the 1.06 firmware with the previous firmware to see how the differences are. Also, what I did is I tried to recreate the low light situation similar to the one that I'd done in the previous video. So what I'll do, I'll show them side by side so you can see what the difference is. As far as I'm concerned, the pictures, I would say, in the 1.06 is a lot better, but I have noticed that with the image stabilization on, it is a little bit jerky. I thought it would just be like that on the screen, but it is actually like that when you play it back. So for the shots that I did today, I actually took the image stabilization off in the low light. In the outside it didn't seem to be so bad, but indoors with the curtain shut it was a bit jerky, so I don't know why that is. Here are the clips. Okay, so here's the comparison. Now I have noticed that when the zoom in does zoom in, the old version actually looks better than the new, but in the new version you don't get as many lines. So this is the WVGA setting. As you can see, there's no blue lines. I didn't do a comparison with this one because you couldn't really tell the difference because it was too far away, so I decided to stick with doing it like this. So that's the WVGA. Next we have 720p at 30 frames per second. Now I can't see any blue lines in that picture. It is a little bit darker than the original, but I can't see any blue lines. Now we have the 720p at 60 frames per second, and again no blue lines, but again it is darker, so you know, it's difficult, blue lines or darker. And here we have the 1080p at 30 frames per second. Now the 1080p, I would say, didn't really need to be upgraded because it was fine as it was. Okay then. Me personally, I think that the 1.06 firmware is better than the previous versions, but then I'm only using the Kodak for tutorials and videos like this. When it comes to sort of taking outside shots, I'm going to be using my Samsung. As far as I'm concerned, the firmware 1.06 is better than all the rest, but obviously if you're going to be doing a lot of videos outside, you've sort of got to decide which one you think is the best. On the whole, out of all of them, I would say that the 1.06 is the best. I have looked at the other videos that I've done in comparison to the 1.6 firmware, and I would say that the 1.06 is better. Now there is a how-to guide from fishycomics that shows you how to downgrade the firmware on the Kodak. I would say be very careful if you think that you're going to do that, because I think it could void the warranty. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, you'd have to ask Kodak. But the thing is that if you try and downgrade the firmware and then your camera doesn't work anymore, then you're stuffed. And I think that Kodak might have an issue with getting you a replacement or a refund because you've mucked about with the firmware. Me personally, I ain't going to touch the firmware. I'm quite happy with 1.06. I don't want to downgrade it. There have been rumours that there might be another firmware coming out soon. You know, that's probably not going to come out for another month or so. But again, if you're thinking about downgrading the firmware, think very seriously before you actually do it, because you could end up naffing up your camera. So, you know, basically it's up to you guys, but I'm just putting a warning in there because it's happened to me before and it's happened to friends of mine before, and basically they've ended up with something that doesn't work, which nobody wants really. So take it into a lot of consideration before you do it. So there you go. That's my comparison video. If you look at the blue lines video that I did before, and then you can compare it with this one. I didn't compare it like I said previously because you couldn't actually see the difference between the two daylight videos, so I decided just to put the full shots in so that you could see what was going on. Alright then, well that's my comparison video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall do another video later on. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you all later. Okay then, bye bye.